The musician.
The musician. The fantabulous Tim. Why did I say that? That's not what I meant to say.
Did you say fantabulous?
I said fantabulous.
Oh, I think I was so in the moment I didn't realise what you were actually saying.
The Fantastic broke for free. Thank you for your music. Fine, sir. Should we get on?
Sure, it's good.
God, I have to listen to this like 2 more times when I edit it, and all of the shit we're saying.
Yeah, but I think of the first one with Dunkirk, it was about half an hour of this.
Oh God, that was what it took me so long to edit episodes 2 and 3, or to get round to editing episodes 2 and 3, because episode 1 was much worse in terms of like how much crap there was, and also
You say crap, I say genius.
Emperor impressions.
Sure, you said it.
But like, I also didn't know what I was doing as well, and so it took a lot longer and more effort than it will take for the rest of them. Because now I've figured out what I'm doing and I've got a flow. It still takes 2 hours, but there you go. Let's start the episode, please, for the love of God. Hello and welcome to another episode. Today we will be talking about The Last Jedi. I'm Tim.
And I'm Lee.
And you're going to take a massive pause every time, and you don't realise that it just means I have to cut space.
You don't have to.
I do. It sounds shit if it's just a dead air.
I think it's hilarious.
It's fine. I can cut. Like I can just use it and cut around this bit of the conversation. Or keep it. It depends.
It's raw, Tim. Raw power.
Okay. So at this point, we have both seen the film at least twice. Is correct?
3 times for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of it, and we've been taking notes. And it's now early January as this is recorded, which means that it's been out for a little while. So full spoiler mode. There is nothing we won't talk about in relation to The Last Jedi in this podcast. You have been warned. If you do not want that movie spoiled for you when this comes out in like February, don't listen. Come back when you've seen the film. I've said it enough now. You gotta know.
Luke dies. Snoke dies. Phasma probably dead.
That's nice and vague though, isn't it? Like, if they really want... She's dead. She's dead.
They couldn't crush her in the trash compactor last time. They're going to burn her now.
So, like, before we really jump in, I kind of want to mention...
That wasn't jumping in.
No, but you said something that makes me think about, like, there are already people running around theorising that Snoke isn't actually dead.
Oh, I know.
And I appreciate... Why do I think that is? I don't know why that is, but it strikes me as baffling.
Yeah. I think it's because it's quite unfulfilling that he's dead now.
Interesting.
We've had a lot of things built up in Force Awakens, which are now pretty unfulfilling to think about, in my opinion.
Interesting. Okay, so I guess we are jumping deep in then.
Well, I mean, yeah. I think that's why people are doing it.
Because they feel like it was an unfulfilling
There's a lot of people who are like, oh, Snoke's dead. Great. Oh, Phasma's dead. Great. Oh, Rey's parents were nobodies. Great. I don't mind that they're nobodies.
It's one of my... I love that about it the more I think about it.
It's fine. I kind of, not resign myself, but I've made peace with it a long time ago that was probably the way they were going to go with it. I don't mind. The execution, not great, but I don't mind the fact of it.
Okay, interesting. But you think that the theorising is about...
I think that's what it's about. People don't want him to be dead because they want to see a bit more from him.
Yeah, they wanted some other thing.
In the film, he's actually starting to do something that's quite cool. He's chucking Rey about, whacking lightsabers off her head. He's actually doing some pretty badass shit, and then he dies. So,
but the thing...
I think people are a bit pissed off that that's it.
The thing that I find sort of irritating and baffling about but what if he's not dead, is like the movie makes it very clear that he's dead. like, yes, you've got a precedent for someone being cut in half, not killing them in the Darth Maul cartoon stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh,
Like,
I hope he doesn't start sprouting mechanical legs, and they're not going to do that again.
No, but like with Darth Maul, you can get away with it because you see him like plummet into a void and then he's gone. Like, you can come up with a way that he survived that.
Yeah,
You literally see Cope's.
yeah.
Cope's. You literally see Snoke's corpse dead on the floor.
They linger on him.
They linger on him. There's no question.
He's even used for a comedic bit.
Yeah.
Comedic bit when Hux discovers them both and he flops on the hook, which, yeah, that's there.
Yeah, I don't think you can get away from the fact that the character is definitely dead.
Yeah.
And if there was any question about whether or not we're in spoiler territory, we've definitely gone all the way deep. So now that we've had that little tangent, because I wanted to talk about that briefly since you mentioned it. Where's the best place to start? Where do you want to start? So, like, I guess overall, how did you feel about it in just sort of broad terms?
This is the weirdest experience I've had watching a Star Wars film. The first time, went to see it with Dad and Drew. Drew's a friend for people.
For people who don't know, our friend Drew is a good dude.
Yeah, we love Drew. This is the first ever Star Wars film I came out of the cinema. I was like, I have no idea what I think about this film. It's the kind of film, the more you think about, the more thoughts become clear.
Yes.
And that's why I've seen it. I've seen it 3 times, not because I love the film, but because I think there's a lot of stuff to process with it.
It is not,
and you need that time
yeah.
and those repeat viewings to sort of cement what you think you felt. Because there's also a lot of reactions on the internet, which are like, either what am I seeing that other people aren't? What am I missing? Like, you know.
There's a lot of complexity in this one that makes it difficult to gauge on a first viewing. I also found this to be true. I don't see movies in the cinema multiple times very often. It's really
I knew
rare.
I knew I was going to see this one multiple times because I thought, it's Star Wars. I'm going to love it. I'm going to want to go and see it again and again and again. But this hasn't quite been like that.
Yeah. But for me, this is the first time in many years, if not ever, that I've gone, I want to go back to the cinema to see that because I want to see it again really soon. And actually done it. Like, I felt that way about Blade Runner 2049 last year as well. But I was like, I don't need to spend the money now. I'll just wait for the Blu-ray to come out. Like, cinema tickets aren't cheap. With Star Wars, I was like, I really want to go because I've done it for a few movies, but it was always sort of accidental. Like, I saw The Dark Knight Rises twice because I saw it once with a friend of mine, Craig, and then I went and saw it with my brothers because we were on a family holiday. And it's like, do you want to go to the cinema? Says the family, and we went, okay, what's on? Oh, the only thing that was on is something I'd seen before. I'm like, well, I'll see it again because I didn't hate it. I liked it more the second time. So for me, I really came out of that movie going like, I need to think about it for a while, and then I need to see it again, and then I need to think about it some more after that to kind of get my brain around it in, I think, the same way that you're describing.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of thoughts in my head like, I think I liked it. There's a lot of confusion. It's a very different film for Star Wars. There's a lot of choices that are made with the characters, decisions that get made, what happens, what people have become, that you have to get your head around, and either you're on board or you're not.
Yes.
I think that's why this film, we may as well come on to this right now. This film has been massively divisive.
So I definitely want to talk about the idea that this film is massively divisive as well, because I kind of think that it isn't.
Right.
And I want to talk about why the people are talking about it as a divisive film, because I don't think by any means that everyone loves it. Like, I think very clearly there are some people who don't, but I think the conversation has become about it being more divisive than it is. And if you don't mind, I'm going to just sort of talk at you for a moment to kind of explain why I feel that way. And it's so, like, the note I have on my phone about this topic just says Rotten Tomatoes.
I know where you're going with this.
Right, so you look at Rotten Tomatoes and the critic overall score is something like 90.
It's 90 right now.
It's 90 right now. It was been sort of a little bit higher than that, but it's always been in that 90 bracket.
6 and 93 and that's 90. It'll go down a bit as time goes by.
But it's somewhere in that 90 bracket, which is similar to what Force Awakens got critically.
Yeah, I think that's
It's
about
not
80 odd now, I think.
Yeah, like it's not bang on the same, but they're in sort of a close bracket.
Yeah.
And then
Kind of what you expect.
Yeah, and then the user score is under 50 or something, you said?
49 right now.
Right, and this is why it has this reputation as being divisive, because the user score is made up of a bunch of people going, that was a 10, and or like a 9 or something, and a bunch of people going, that was a 1 or a 2, because they didn't like it at all.
I think it's between 1 and a 5 for the audience score. And I
Okay.
think the average right now is a 3 out of 5.
Okay. So if you're interested in this, both you, Lee, and also you, the listener, there was a really great article on Birth, Movies, Death about this topic, which you can probably go and find. And I think Polygon had a similar article sort of breaking some of this stuff down. But the issue is that user review aggregates on sites like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic are wildly inaccurate. And I'm going to explain kind of why very briefly. Is that they're basically a kind of opinion poll, right? In the same way that you can do for all sorts of things. And there are kind of two kinds of opinion poll. There's the kind where whoever is hosting the poll, so often this is done sort of in scientific communities to research things, or like political communities by researchers. They will take random groups, but they'll sort of skew the randomness slightly to make sure that it's representative of the population using selection methods, and then they'll ask them and get opinions back. Then there are sort of self-selecting ones where you opt in to a poll, so they just go, who wants to give us information? And then those people give them opinions, and they generate data from that. And opinion polls are, scientifically speaking, much less accurate when they're opt-in, because it's a lot harder to skew for biases in your audience, because you don't have any control over who that audience is, like who you're asking. There are ways when you're doing proper scientific research to counteract that and get more useful data with an opt-in poll. But something like Rotten Tomatoes isn't a scientific process. It's not there for gathering highly refined data. So there is nothing sort of skewing it against user bias, which allows for a certain kind of behavior. And the thing that's interesting to me is that it looks to me, as someone who's seen this a bunch, being a video game fan and paying attention to video games journalism and reviews, that this is something that happens a lot in video games, but much less frequently in films. It's something called review bombing. You get an effect where people who are really displeased with something go out of their way to go to a site like Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic or somewhere like that and leave a negative review because they're upset because they didn't like the thing. Whereas people who really liked it are radically less likely to go and leave a positive review. So you get that skew in the opt-in. Like, it's okay if you don't like The Last Jedi. That's an absolutely fine opinion to hold. But I think the problem is that you get people who get like violently angry about this and like organise on the internet and like, let's bomb the reviews, and you get
petitioners to
remove it from the canon because I don't know, children on the internet, like men children. But you get this thing where people will organise and like make false accounts to make extra negative reviews on something. And if you look at the reviews on The Last Jedi and you take like the negative ones, there are lots of them that like this is the only thing they've ever done on Rotten Tomatoes is post this negative review. Some of them have like made an account, posted the review, deleted their account. There's a remarkable amount of that compared to other movies. So it's not that...
I think Star Wars tends to bring that out in people.
Oh, absolutely.
There's not a lot of other film... Like, I'm not defending that. But the case is Star Wars fandom isn't really like anything else.
No, and I agree with you.
Look at the prequels.
It is the kind of thing that is likely...
Hate Force Awakens. Some people hate this. It brings it out of people.
I think the thing
it doesn't surprise me people have logged in because they want to put their opinion on.
Exactly. The thing that I think is interesting is if you take... Because like companies who do marketing for films do their own independent research on audience reactions. Because of course they do. But these are done using more scientifically rigorous methods because they're trying to get the most useful data so they can sell better and make more money. Like it's about a company doing the company's things, but it's used like more refined methods. They will like hire companies who will do this kind of research professionally to do it. The audience reaction numbers you get doing it that way are much closer to the critic numbers on average, which is to say there are two different groups of people. There are the general audience, and like Star Wars is massive, right? Like a huge percentage of the Western world loves Star Wars. So it is like a big budget blockbuster that has a general people audience. General audience really likes the film. In like the niche fan community, like the intense Star Wars fan, that I think is a place where it maybe there are divisive opinions, and it's split opinion quite severely amongst the like super fans of Star Wars. But the general audience quite likes it.
Yeah.
And I think that's
I agree.
that's an important distinction to make when we're having this conversation.
Yeah. But that's gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Star Wars is a different beast to other films. You're gonna get other films like Blade Runner, for instance, that just come into my mind because it's there. If that's a general film audience is going to watch that, or Blade Runner fans are going to watch that and decide for themselves. And if you're either a Blade Runner fan or you're not.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like with a movie like Blade Runner, it doesn't have a big general audience. I still
Star Wars,
don't know how they made that movie.
Star Wars, I think, has 3 types of audience.
Okay.
That all like it. You got the general audience who are like, looks cool, some good character stuff happens, like the original trilogy, great story, can get into it. Not too fussed about the depth, but I enjoy it for what it is. Then there's another type, I think, which is slightly more into it, where they'll watch the Clone Wars cartoons and Rebels, not really go too further than that. And then you've got the people who are like massively into it, who will read all the books, go behind the scenes of everything, watch the films countless times, and the general audience will watch a film once and maybe get on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Watch it again.
So like,
but there's that distinction. I think there's 3 types.
So you've got your general audience, people who like the movies and will watch them and enjoy them, and that's fine.
People who like them okay, but don't really care about it.
Yeah,
too.
like people who like the movies and are its audience.
Yeah.
Then you've got
right.
fans, people who are like, and I probably fit it in this box. Like I'm a Star Wars fan now. And then you've got the people that Mark Hamill describes as UPFs, or ultra passionate fans, and I love that that's how he describes them. I think that's adorable.
Yeah, which is where I'm at.
Yeah, which is where you're at. And amongst the ultra passionate fans of Star Wars, I think you're getting really divisive opinions.
I think this is where it's coming from. I think there's a lot of people who would have read the old expanded universe stuff, now Legends, and have forged opinions based on that because their childhood, it would have been mine had I got more into it. I didn't really read a lot of it, so it didn't really bother me when they
threw it
trashed
away.
It all and made Legends. They're bringing stuff back anyway, putting it in different places. But so that doesn't bother me too much. But I am a UPF.
Yeah. And you should own that.
Yeah. So from that point of view, I can see. To me, it has been very divisive.
Even just for you in yourself, or in terms of the conversations you've had.
The conversations I've had with people at work and friends and online on YouTube. There's a lot of. I don't think it's a minority. I don't think it's a majority of people who don't like it. I think it is a. I don't think the Rotten Tomatoes score is that far off. I've looked because there are some silly things like, oh, it's bots. People have gone just to rate it down because they hate it. And even if it was that, I think if people feel that passionately about it, maybe
that tells you something about
what people are actually thinking about it anyway. And I think there are some people claiming to have done it, but I think that's similar to acts in the world being claimed by people who have actually had nothing to do with it.
So I think,
but I think I don't think it's that far off from what I've all I've been doing since Last Jedi came out is sort of reading about it, watching stuff about it, talking to people about it.
So
it's not a minority.
But I think for me the important distinction is that like it's not a minority of the Star Wars fandom, but I think it is a minority of people who see the film. If you see because I think most of that general audience quite like it.
Maybe
because the general audience interacts with Star Wars in a very different way than people who are super into Star Wars.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's also I know a few people who are generally into it, but have also noticed the problems the film has, and are like, it's all right. But I don't think they'll go into. I think you're right in that people won't go so far as to say it's terrible, it's bad. They'll just be like, it's all right.
But I think
that they'll give a very lukewarm reaction if they don't like it so much.
I think the general audience is like, as an example, like doesn't give a shit who Snoke is, maybe. Whereas like I think this is where you see the line. Like the general audience doesn't care who Snoke is; they don't think that's important. They're not invested in that idea in a way that like people who are more into Star Wars as a whole spend more time thinking about all of it. So they're like, oh, but I want to know about Snoke. And when they don't get answers about Snoke, that is disappointing to that person and is like considered a flaw for that person when they're thinking about the movie in a way where like the general audience has a different relationship with it. And I think you can see that from like looking at
it's not so much with the Snoke thing. I think it's not so much answers about who he is. Like, we don't get an idea of what his motivations are. Why does he want to rule? Who is he? What's his character? Where does he come from? The problem the film has is because it's set 30 years after Return of the Jedi, clearly a lot of stuff has gone down in between this time. They're all talking about Snoke did this, Snoke did that. It's difficult to connect to someone when you kind of want to be caught up a little bit, because it's like the characters know stuff that you don't. It's difficult to get into a character when you're behind the story.
I see what you mean. Because 30 years of stuff has happened that we didn't live through because they didn't make movies about it. I'll be honest, I am in the camp of people who doesn't really care who Snoke is at this point. Because I feel like part of my experience with that movie was like, oh, I guess he's not important. Like, this isn't a story about Snoke. Snoke kind of exists in relationship to Kylo Ren. And I think part of it is that you kind of almost expect Snoke to be like an Emperor analog, and he isn't.
No, I don't. Yeah.
But like,
I didn't think he was going to be an Emperor 2.0, because why would you do that?
Well, no, that's not an interesting set of decisions. Yeah. So the thing for me is, I don't know that I need to know that stuff about Snoke for these movies to function. I 100% guarantee you that there is someone right now who has been hired to write a novel to tell you about Snoke.
Yeah, which not a lot of people are going to read.
No, and that's fair. But I think
I wouldn't read it. What's
no,
the point?
I don't think I would
like
either.
Why would you read it?
Because you don't care about the character.
Why do you care about the character now?
But this is the thing.
No consequence.
I don't think the character is like. I don't think I need to care about the character. I don't think he's important enough to care about him.
The character, but it would be nice to be invested.
But this is what I'm saying
in Last Jedi, you're getting a few moments where he's displaying some proper power. Like, Rey's supposed to be a virgin in the Force, and he's just throwing her around. She's trying to do things, he's just like, fuck off, bitch, and whacking lightsabers off her head. And then I don't think the way he goes out is great. He's saying, I can sense his every motivation, I can do this, I'm throwing you around, but he can't sense Kylo moving his lightsaber and about to kill him.
I think that this is the point, is that everything, like his behaviour in that scene, lines up with both what is going on with Rey and what is going on with Kylo in terms of this idea of like prophecy and the like visions of the future, in that all three of them see some version of the same thing and all three of them misinterpret it. Like, all three of them fail to understand what they're seeing, but they're all seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, Rey thinks that Ben is gonna turn and stand with them and help bring down evil.
Yeah.
Ben thinks that Rey's gonna turn and stand with him and join the dark side. And Snoke thinks he's seeing Ben kill Rey and become the student he needs, and instead he's killing him. And, like, Ben is making a specific choice to behave in a manner that he knows will be deceiving. Like, he's moving both hands in the same way and focusing just on turn the lightsaber, turn the lightsaber, turn the lightsaber, to try and obfuscate what he's about to do. So all three of them are seeing the same, like a part of the same moment from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the movie is about that thing. So all of the learning the story of what happened the night that Ben became Kylo Ren, for want of a better phrase, is you see it from three different perspectives. Yeah. You see it from Luke's perspective, the way he wished it had happened.
Well, yeah.
Or like the way he's going to tell you the first time because he's hurting about it.
It bordered on deceiving.
Yeah, okay, so like...
Which, yeah.
You see it from him being dishonest about it because he's still struggling with that memory. You see it from Ben's perspective, where he only sees the lightsaber ignited and doesn't have any of the context of what's going on in Luke's head. And then you get the slightly more nuanced version, which is probably closer to the truth. There's like a bunch of things where this movie is about how the same thing looks radically different depending on where you're standing. That's one of the huge themes of the movie. And so for me, like, all of that Snoke, like that moment where like Snoke doesn't see it, is so perfectly in sync with what the movie is trying to express thematically that I don't really give a shit how powerful he is, because what is happening is serving the plot in a way that for me is like works. I should say, because we haven't done, I think I like this movie a lot more than you do, which hopefully will make for this to be an interesting conversation. like I wanted to stop and mention that because we talked about sort of here's roughly how I feel about it for you when we got in, and I feel like it's worth for the audience saying I really liked it. Having like the second time I liked it more than the first time, and there was like I wasn't sure after the first time, and the second time I was like, okay, I do really like this movie. But like for me, the thing that makes it work is everything seems like it lines up with the thematic expressions that it's making and the ideas that the movie is talking about. It all serves itself.
Yeah, you're right with the themes. There's all the failure. I think the mistake this film makes is it's putting themes ahead of the story. I don't think... I know what you're saying about this is from this angle, and that's what Snoke's thinking about. I don't buy that he can't sense, because of what he's just been doing. Because he's the display of power that he's showing with Rey, with zapping Kylo at the start of the film. He's showing that visually he's towering over them, and in power he's doing that as well. So after that, I don't really buy that he's fooled.
So interesting, because
I find it difficult to accept.
Because my reaction to seeing that is to just go, he's really arrogant, isn't he? He's so focused on what he thinks is going to happen that he can't see what's happening right here. And to me, that's not, I don't believe this character. That's like, oh God, look at him and how arrogant he is. He thinks he's so great because he's so powerful, but he's not. He's so secure in his own power that he can't see what's actually happening. So to me, it feels like intentional.
Yeah, I think it's a problem with execution. I agree. He is clearly very arrogant.
There's no question about that.
His monologue about what kind of, and now he turns to strike his true enemy. Yeah,
but didn't work for you.
Doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for a lot of people. Works for some. I mean, that's this film. It works for some people. Some people are on board with where it goes. Some people are just not. It doesn't work for them. People don't buy it. It's not earned.
It is. So I will say that I think it is the riskiest Star Wars movie. Like, because of all these choices it makes that are quite unusual choices, narratively speaking. I think you can see this in the fact that for people it either lands really well or it doesn't land at all for a large portion of people. It's like they're making these. I think it's a bold movie to make, and obviously that's not going to work for everyone. The question is, does it work for enough people?
I think this film is so desperate to be like, you thought this was going to happen, gotcha. Like the way Luke comedically flicks the lightsaber over his shoulder. That's what he's doing. That's the film's metaphor for fan theories. Here's your fan theory. No. Who's Rey's parents? Is she a Kenobi? Is she a Skywalker? Is she a Solo? No. Who's Snoke? Is he some thing that's going to be big in the future? Is he going to be like the main villain? No. Like that's how this film treats story elements from Force Awakens. Well, a lot of Force Awakens stuff sort of gets forgotten about.
Like what? For
Knights
example, give me an example. Okay, yes.
Where are they?
I will say.
Why aren't they for the Praetorian Guards? Why are we getting introduced to new stuff? Why don't you just use them?
I will say this
they look cool.
Really want to fucking know what's up with the Knights of Ren, that was disappointing.
The Praetorian Guards, really cool. It's a great scene. It's not as great as people are making it. It's good. It's a cool scene.
I mean, I had so much fun. I was literally like nearly clapping when it happened.
It's a cool scene. I've seen it 3 times. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fucking cool.
Why not just have the Knights of Ren?
See, like you say that, and it's like yes, because then there's this extra bit of weight to the plot because you assume that Kylo would have some connection to that organisation.
If he's so intent on killing the past, why don't you kill the Knights of Ren? I'm not Kylo anymore. I'm Darth whatever. I'm just me. You know, I'm killing it all. I'm not Snoke's bitch. I'm not the master of the Knights of Ren. I'm just me, and I'm taking over the world. And why he wants to, we don't really know.
I will grant you that not even acknowledging that the Knights of Ren... And the thing is, in terms of the films, the Knights of Ren exist because of one line that Snoke says in The Force Awakens and the flashback that you get of them for 3 seconds. And you also get a lot of
stuff in the background, like they're in the Art of Force Awakens book.
Sure, but so I'm the kind of...
And you see them in the flashback,
I kind of feel that like if it isn't in the movies... Like, if it's for the movies, but it isn't in the movies, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If it then gets put in a book, then it exists in the book. But, like, as far as the movies are concerned, the Knights of Ren barely exist. But they exist just enough that you feel like, isn't this, like... Yeah. That seems important. He's the master of some sort of order that are, like, a knightly order. Yeah. And
he's clearly like a bunch of the students that he took with him.
Yeah, and you kind of want to know.
They get inadvertently taught. Like it must be them.
It must be.
He's talking about took a bunch of students and killed the rest. It must be them.
Yeah, but like you want to know what's up with that.
So they're Force users. We can ascertain that
to some greater or lesser degree, presumably.
Probably not as much. Obviously, not as much as Ben Solo. But
well, no. I mean, there's a reason
because he seems to be like the darkness and light. You know.
I love that idea though.
Yeah.
Because for me, it doesn't explain Snoke, but for me it contextualizes him in the sense that like at the end of the original trilogy, you have Luke who is really strong in the Force and no one else in the galaxy as far as we know. And we've established that the Force wants balance, so some powerful dark side user rises to match him. And then like Kylo Ren and Rey kind of match. And
they're the yin and yang of Star Wars.
Right. So in some ways, you feel like maybe Snoke had to die here if Luke was going to die here for like the symmetry of it to function. Which isn't to say that it might not have been improved if we got a little bit of like context for Snoke. Like I don't feel like you. I feel like if you added some context for Snoke, that probably doesn't hurt the film. But I didn't mind that it was missing. I guess
I think some people mind, some people don't.
I
think some people want to be brought into the character rather than things happen, you'll find out later, kind of thing. Yeah, but read the book, you know.
Yeah, and
it's like there's a really good book about Phasma that's just been released, and now they've killed her off. Like it's like I've never quite got the Boba Fett thing.
No,
because it was before my time. The films were I watched them 1, 2, 3. I never realised Boba Fett was a thing until I got older and was like, oh, okay, people really love Boba. Okay, fine. Well,
it is weird.
He did.
It is weird.
I understand now.
Oh, because of the Phasma thing.
I get it now. Suddenly I get it a bit because they've done the same thing with kind of Phasma, kind of Snoke.
So I think there's this...
I didn't think they'd do that though with Phasma. They pushed her a lot in the merchandising for Force Awakens and all that.
And then she wasn't.
And then she didn't do anything in that. I mean, at least she had a fight scene where she gets beaten by the janitor. But
I mean, yeah.
I mean, that's funny that Finn has apparently mopped every floor of the First Order. How did we get there? Oh, it's okay. I was mopping floors.
Yeah, like
I know where the flux capacitor is. I mean, it is a giant flux capacitor.
Yes.
Yeah. That is exactly what it is.
So I think the thing I think about, because I've often thought this about the Boba Fett thing, is that when I sit down to watch those movies, there is no reason for me to give a shit about Boba Fett.
No,
he's a henchman with a cool design.
He's just a cool character that people have latched onto in later years,
right? And so,
he went out in a
people like the character design, so they want the character to be something you're supposed to care about. Yeah. But in terms of how those movies are built, you aren't supposed to care about Boba Fett. Yeah. He's just a random bounty hunter. The problem they have
with this is they pushed Phasma a lot in the lead up to Force Awakens. She was the main thing. Like, oh, she's cool. She's going to be badass. It's Brienne of Tarth, Gwendolyn Christie. She's going to absolutely wreck shit up. And she don't do fuck all.
This is the thing that I find interesting about the Force Awakens is the marketing did that. The movie didn't.
Yeah.
The movie doesn't think you're supposed to care that much about Phasma.
No,
except,
she's just a background.
Like she stands in for this symbol of like where Finn came from.
Yeah.
In a way that is useful to the plot. But the movie doesn't care about Phasma. But the marketing fucking loves her, because look at her cool costume.
Like they've caused these problems for themselves, really. It does make me laugh now, if I went back and watched Force Awakens, where Finn is threatening her with the gun. Why is she bothered? It's going to bounce off her. Why is she bothered, Tim?
Well,
it's going to bounce off her.
There's an issue of range, in the sense that, like...
You're making that up in your head.
Okay, like the movie doesn't tell me there's an issue of range, but I know this is true about guns in the real world.
All right,
like if someone puts a gun to your like up to you, like that is more dangerous because of the pressure. Like that is how guns work. I don't think that's a leap.
Okay.
Like for me,
well rationalized.
Like for me, I don't like that. Isn't a big enough deal to like impact my viewing.
No. It's not like, oh, you've ruined Force Awakens for me now. Oh, no. I can't watch the film now because he's threatening her with a gun that would have just bounced off her head. Like, it's just a funny thing that I've noticed now.
No, and we can be amused by it. And this kind of tangents into something I want to ask you about. Do any of the space battles in this movie bother you? Because this is a thing I've heard people go off about.
The visual aspect, no. I think I'm going to get into the positives of this film.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that.
Not to sound like a hater.
Because it seems like you don't hate it.
No, I don't hate the film. I'm just tremendously disappointed. We've covered the Raylo Praetorian Guards fight thing.
Yeah, I mean, we can.
It's cool. It's good. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's. People have talked about it like, this is one of the coolest scenes in Star Wars. No, it's not. It's a cool fight scene. Let's leave it at that.
I think it might rank in my top lightsaber battles when we
But
talked about that previously. But I am a very different Star Wars fan to you.
Yeah. I think you're coming from it as a person like Force Awakens touched you in a way that no Star Wars film has.
This is true.
You're coming from that perspective.
Yeah. Like, I'm not coming...
In a previous podcast, you listed the Kylo Ren Rey
as number one.
As number one.
Yeah, which isn't probably true.
I'm sure a lot of other people would.
Which is fair.
Which is fine. It's your opinion.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with it.
We're not listing what I think is the best. We're thinking my favourite.
But that's what you're coming from.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from with that. As a person of where I come from with Star Wars, it's a cool scene.
Yeah.
It's well done. The film is very well made. Visually, it's fantastic. Could have been better if I actually cared about a few of the characters. The light speed through...
the light speed jump through the ship
is great. Would have been better had I gave a shit about Holdo.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I hate her. Luke's death would have been great had I not felt a bit unsatisfied about the way he goes and who he has become. Apart from that, yeah, it's a great film to look at. There's a lot of shots that are like, okay, that could be a wallpaper.
Oh, fuck.
on my
it's
PC.
Shot so beautifully. So fucking beautifully.
Yeah. It's tremendously well made. The score is fantastic. There's some great callbacks to the original, like when the Falcon's going down under crate, and it goes dun 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 dun. You know, straight from when they're escaping the Death Star in episode 4. It's that score. Yeah, the music's great. It elevates every scene, even scenes that I don't like. It's like I still like the music. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you enjoy it a little bit more because the music's so great.
There is no. Like, while John Williams continues to write Star Wars music, you aren't going to be disappointed by the scores, I don't think.
No. Like, The Force Awakens, a lot of people were disappointed, but it was more subtle. Whereas this goes a bit more for the bombastic, anthemic themes of what it used to be.
Yeah.
One of the best scenes in the film for me is Luke in the Falcon and R2 meets up with him and shows him the hologram of Leia. The second showing I went to see, I nearly cried.
So I think
the first showing is like you're all hyped up. You're not really watching the film so much as like bang, you know. So the second viewing, I was able to sit there and just take it all a bit more, and that's a great scene because it's for a fleeting second, it's the Luke I know again. So that's a brilliant scene. It's a great little way of linking everything together, which I don't think the film does a great job of doing. Apart from that, it feels like a very standalone film.
So I want to just pause in the middle of your listing things you liked here.
Yeah, I'm not far in there.
Just to say that I think that really speaks to this thing we were just talking about, where your relationship to Star Wars is so different to mine. You went in looking for the next Star Wars film, and like knowing it was going to be like the 8th main film, and like you had all of the expectation of
I'm going in
Star Wars.
for the next chapter in the story.
I wanted a sequel to The Force Awakens. That was why I went, because that's the part of it that I love.
Thing that I'm going for as well.
Yeah,
I'm looking for a sequel. I'm not looking for a standalone film that happens to be a saga film as well. That's how I view The Last Jedi.
Oh, really? You don't feel like it continues in any meaningful way?
It feels like even the way it ends, I feel like it's almost tied up in a way. Like
I love that about it, because I hate middle films that end unsatisfyingly.
But that's what the final chapter's for.
No,
in a trilogy.
I feel very, very powerfully that any individual film you watch should stand alone. Like, if a film doesn't feel complete without the film before it or the film after it, that's a flaw in the movie.
There's a way of a film feeling complete without having to tie everything up in a bow. Like,
I agree with you.
Empire Strikes Back ends on a cliffhanger, but it still feels complete.
I agree with you. Like, I don't think you need to be 100% self-contained, but I think you need to have had arcs that begin and have peaks. Like, you need to have your satisfying arcs for the plot inside the middle movie.
There's other reasons I feel like it stands alone. We'll get to it, but the Poe Holdo storyline, the film has no idea what Poe seems to have done in. Like, let's remember, Last Jedi picks up straight where Force Awakens leaves off. It's basically the same day. It seems to have forgotten that Poe Dameron is a hero and he should be laden with medals. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that, because that's a big part of my set of notes as well.
Okay. The acting performances, Adam Driver's the best thing so far in the last two films. He's fantastic.
Oh, Adam fucking Driver. Adam fucking Driver.
My point exactly.
Adam fucking Driver. I love him. He is an incredible performer, and like he's bringing such game here.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Because the thing about Kylo Ren as a character is, in the hands of a lesser actor, it would be so easy for him to be shit.
Yeah,
like that character could
it'd be
go
a lot
to
easier
shit
to
so
think
easily.
he's just an emo, mopey teenager. But I don't know. There's something about Adam. It just brings a different thing to it.
Yeah, there's like he's just enough emotional complexity for you to buy into this person.
He's like John Boyega is saying. They play it big, so there's no subtlety about their like John Boyega.
John
so wasted in this film. He's brilliant. When Rose catches him, I've seen people trying to say that's disgraceful.
He's so good.
He knows how to play Star Wars. Like,
yeah, he's wonderful here.
You just want. That's what they're thinking. Mark Hamill's the same. People are like, oh, Mark Hamill can't act. No, fuck off. He's brilliant.
Mark Hamill puts in an incredible
Mark Hamill is
performance
one
in
of the
this
things
film.
that makes Star Wars what it was.
I think he puts in an incredible performance here as well.
And he's great in this film. Andy Serkis as well, brilliant as Snoke. Which is another reason I'm kind of disappointed he's not there, because we don't get to see Andy Serkis do his stuff anymore. Yeah, the actor performance is great. No problem with those, really. Daisy Ridley's not quite as good as in The Force Awakens, I don't think. There's like I noticed on my third viewing last night, there's a few line readings I'm a bit like, bit flat. But minor stuff. The Porgs and the Caretakers were a relief. Thank God they weren't.
Were you expecting them to be bad?
They were either going to be great or Jar Jar.
Yes, I can see what you mean.
Thankfully, the Porgs were kept to one side. They're just there for a few comedic moments. Fine. The film has a bit of a problem with humour, but they're okay. The Caretakers, brilliant. When Rey slashes the rock and it just goes. It takes out this. It's so fucking funny.
It's like it's really well timed. Yeah. So I had this interesting experience with the jokes in this movie since you started talking about it. Where like I feel like there's a lot more in the first half, and then the second half starts taking itself a bit more seriously.
I don't think there's any point at this film where it takes itself seriously. The scene where Hux discovers Snoke and Kylo Ren, it's a scene of chaos, destruction, and then you get Snoke just going boom. It's played for laughs.
The first time I saw it, maybe it was that the silly moments in the latter half didn't like register as much.
You've got into it by then,
but like
so it may be a bit more difficult.
Some of the earlier ones I found like a bit jarring the first time I saw it, where I'm like, oh, that was a joke that didn't land.
Yeah.
The second time I saw it, I didn't feel like they were jokes. I genuinely was like, oh, there's that character moment. There's that thing that character would do. Like, it didn't feel weird to me on the second viewing at all. And I think this is because humor is about like breaking expectation. So you're not expecting it to happen, and then something happens.
I think the thing with second viewing, like, I've heard a lot of people. It didn't change how I felt about the film. The second viewing, it reinforced things I didn't like. It reinforced things I did like. Other people have said I liked it more. I think that's because you know what's coming.
This is true of films in general.
You're not surprised, but you're not shocked by Snoke's dead. Like, okay, this is a bit where Snoke dies. You accept it. You're in the acceptance part. If you didn't like it, you move into the acceptance phase by then. So it's less of a problem for you.
But I think there's this very real phenomenon, because I've experienced this a lot, like as someone who watches films, where like sometimes something feels off and you can't quite place it, and it's just because it's different than you expected, not because it's bad. And I've had this with several movies, and it's like, oh, I was expecting it to kind of go this way, and this is not where I was expecting it to go. This feels weird. Like, for me, all those jokes don't work as jokes, but they do kind of work for me as character beats, because they're all like, here's the thing that's happening, and it makes sense, and it doesn't feel like the blue milk, to me, feels like he really just wants to be left alone, and so he's trying deliberately to be weird to get her to fuck off.
Maybe
like that. Honestly, that's how it feels to me. The first time, I'm also surprised by it, and so I'm like, that didn't land quite as funny as it thinks it is. The second time, I'm like, oh, he's just trying to get her to fuck off, and by being like, because he looks at her as he's drinking the milk. Like, yes, it's funny,
and he goes,
yeah, it's funny, but he's also like saying like, you don't want to be here. It's like, I'm just a weird old man. Why won't you leave me alone? Look at me being a weird old man. Like, he's playing it he's not like that scene, that beat isn't played at the audience. It's played at Rey. And so when I'm watching it the second time, it's not surprising. So I'm not feeling like I should be laughing.
That's not the kind of thing I'm sort of thinking of.
No, but like for
when
me,
I say the
it's
humour
really
doesn't land like that's. I think you're right. Mark Hamill doesn't play anything subtly. I think that's probably exactly what he's going for.
Yeah,
he doesn't seem altogether bothered the other times when she's following him, like, he's not constantly. He does say go away a couple of times, but he's not sort of like, just fucking leave me alone.
No, but
I think you're probably not far off with that assumption. It's not a reach.
No.
The very beginning of the film, the
lightsaber toss, or before that,
even before that, the Poe and Hux thing. The first time I was like, what are they going for here? Like, on hold? What? Your mom? What? And then the second time I was just like, this is terrible. Because none of it... It's one of those jokes where like, it goes on for like a minute, and it's like, because Hux keeps going, can you hear me? I can hear you. Just, okay, you've done the joke. Move on.
But the thing is, like, it's not just a joke, though, because it is also part of his plan.
Yeah, I know he's distracting him. I don't think it's a great way of making a joke about it. I think, in a broader sense, I think the film is afraid to get too intense. Like, when you've got the chase under Crate with the Falcon, you've got Paul jokes going on. I think the film is like, serious shit is going on. But don't worry, there's a gag nearly every scene about it. Like Snoke flicking the lightsaber off Rey's head is a gag.
Mm.
It's like, oh wow, look at Snoke. It's like, I've heard the term, it's got a lot of Marvel humour. I can see it. There's a lot of, like, because the Marvel films are very much in a similar way, like, when things are getting too intense, here's a joke. Don't worry, we're going to make you laugh. This film felt quite similar. Star Wars has always had humour. Force Awakens, very funny film. Empire Strikes Back, funny film. Return of the Jedi, all of it.
Return of the Jedi, every second.
I meant...
No, I know what I meant. No, I know what you meant, but I also couldn't let that go.
I know. They weren't gags. Gags and humorous lines are a different thing. Like slapstick and stuff. The prequels had gags, fart jokes, etc.
Yeah.
They aren't funny. They're funny to kids. Kids will laugh at Last Jedi. The pork stuff is funny. The scene where they nearly activate the lightsaber and was looking down at that. Like, that's hilarious.
I didn't find that funny. I was just like, no, little porg, no. I just, don't die. Don't. Yeah. Like, obviously they weren't going to.
I think that's a bit of Star Wars humour.
Yeah.
And like, Chewie not being able to eat the pork is a bit of Star Wars visual humour. It's like, that's quite funny. Look at Chewie. That's a character moment.
Yeah.
Because that is Chewie. So you are right, there are some bits of humour that are character beats. Some of it is just played for laughs.
I feel like most of them are, though. I feel like the lightsaber toss is a character beat. I think it's a really important character beat.
This is Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, then Luke's, which, as far as we know, going by the films, there's been no books about the lightsaber. As far as we know, he hasn't seen that lightsaber since Empire Strikes Back, where it goes off with his hand. Do you not think he might be a little bit curious as to, how the fuck have you got this? Rather than going, no. Like, but that's the problem I have with Luke Skywalker's character anyway. It's a totally different guy.
Well, of course it's a totally different guy. It's been 30 years.
Yeah.
He should be a different character.
Yeah, but stuff he does doesn't make sense to me. The Luke's... There's this silly hashtag like, not my Luke, that's my Luke. Yeah, I'm not getting into that. But there are things that I don't agree with. I don't agree that he would kill his nephew. Even think about it. Even though he's seen what he would do. I saw what he would do. No. It doesn't work. I'm not on board. No. This is a guy who was the only guy who could see any good in Darth Vader. Yeah, he gave in for a bit and chops off his hand. He learnt his lesson. The story of Luke is about making mistakes and learning your lesson. He learnt this lesson in Return of the Jedi. Why would he go and do the same thing again? It's not what Luke does. That's not how we've been brought up with him. But
there's this idea then that once he's completed his arc in those first 3 movies, that he's like done and that he can never make a mistake again?
No, but it's not the fact that he makes a mistake, it's what he does. It doesn't fit with who he is that we know him at the end of The Last Jedi. Obviously stuff has happened, but stuff has happened after this is the thing, this is presented as the defining thing. This is why Kylo Ren turned. This is why Luke is now a coward on an island. Like, why has he run off? Like, he has left the fate of the galaxy to Snoke and his nephew who has just turned evil. Why are you running away? This is not who you are. It doesn't work for me.
See, like, this is something I've been thinking a lot because I've heard some of these presented, and like, for me, the question is Luke in this movie the same character as he was previously? My question is, does this movie justify the ways he has changed? So here's the thing. I'm not convinced you can have any other version of Luke in this movie, like any other thing that he's doing on that island apart from hiding, after you've had The Force Awakens. Because the whole of Empire Strikes Back is basically built on this premise that Luke can sense his friends in danger halfway across the galaxy.
And he must go and save them. Yeah.
And so the only way that you get anything like that make any sense is if, well, like, he has to have done something like cut himself off from the Force.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would know that Han was dead, right? He would, like, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he would have noticed that, like, Rey had started using the Force because he would have sensed Ben, right? Like, so you have to have him have become 100% reclusive. There isn't really anywhere else to go with that, I don't think. After Force Awakens.
Yeah. It depends. It depends where you want to take him. It's not that he's a different character, because obviously he's not going to be the same guy. It's that it doesn't feel like the same human being. He's unlikable, and Luke wasn't unlikable. Maybe a little bit in A New Hope, where he's a bit whiny. That's the character. It's not bad writing. It's just
the character. Yeah, we had that conversation in a previous episode.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like the same guy. It feels like this is someone who looks like Luke Skywalker, but is a different person. And the way he has become this person doesn't work for who he has become previously. It doesn't feel like something he would do. We're going by the films.
Sure.
We haven't seen him since Return of the Jedi properly. So it's very difficult to connect to someone who we've just watched save his dad. The only one who believes he can save him, he's been tempted by the dark side, but he's like, no, I'm a Jedi. It's powerful because that's his statement. It's the end of his growth. It's the end of the hero's journey. Yeah. He's done it. He's completed what he needed to do. To then kind of throw that away is a bit of a slap in the face. And then when Yoda turns up, which I had a little cheer when he turned up, and then he's back to Empire Strikes Back. Like, always looking, like never looking in front of his nose. Like, no, he's grown since then. It feels like they wanted to take him back to a place where he needed to grow again. It's like, no, you've done it. If you're not going to treat the guy with what he has done and where he has come from, don't put him in the film. Because this is just, it doesn't work in the whole context of the story.
So I think the thing is, for me at least, in that original trilogy, his journey is about becoming a hero. The thing he's sort of presented as having failed at in The Last Jedi is at being a teacher, which is a very different person to be.
I think his journey in the original trilogy is less about, it's presented as the hero's journey. It's about becoming a man. I always connected to Luke Skywalker. Like, it was either Luke or Han. Who's your favourite? A lot of people, they go to Han because he's the coolest. He's who you want to be. He's very together. He becomes a leader, but he's look how cool he is. He's a scandal. You want to be Han because you want to be seen as that. Luke is actually who you are. You're a guy you're a teenager. You're a bit whiny. You haven't got anything together. You want to do this because someone says so. You want to do that because someone says so. Like, there's a scene where Biggs is with the Imperial Academy, and Luke's like, I want to join the Imperials. It's like, actually, no, I'm going to join the Rebels. I want to join the Rebellion. Like, that's who Luke is. He doesn't know what he really wants. Yeah. So he's growing in Empire Strikes Back, but he's a bit arrogant because he's got some power. He's not thinking of the bigger picture. That's why he runs off to save Han and Leia, and then Leia ends up saving him because he fucks up. Return of the Jedi is the completion. He's thinking for himself. Everyone's telling him, no, you've got to kill Darth Vader. No, there's good in him. He's my dad. I can't kill him. And he completes that. He has a moment of weakness when Darth Vader goes, sister. Yeah. That's great storytelling. It's still a flaw. He overcomes that flaw and he completes his journey to becoming a man. With this, we've gone back to him learning to be a man again. It's like, I don't think it's not an earned next step into where Luke Skywalker is. I don't think they've gone the right way. I think they should have just killed him off.
So I disagree with you but I mean, we come from different perspectives, but for the sake of making interesting radio, allow me to present a counterpoint. Okay. For me, one of the hugest things that this movie is about is what heroism and heroes and legends and myths and stories all mean, right? Like, that's what the movie is interested in more than anything else. And so Luke, at the end of episode 6, is the hero. And in real time, like, for us as audience, he is kind of this legendary figure who is looked up to and revered. Right? Like you were just talking about. Like, you connected with him because this story meant something to you, and so it exists in your life as this, like, figure. It also, we've established in Force Awakens that there are people in the galaxy in the story who feel that way about Luke Skywalker and all of these people. Like, it's been enough time that that war and those victories and those heroic deeds have also taken on the same weight for people in the world as they kind of have for people who love those movies. So by the time you're making movies set 30 years later, Luke Skywalker has become a hero and almost become this legendary figure, this like thing that's bigger than a person, and is trying to figure out how to live up to his own legend. And so he's like, well, the natural thing to do, obviously, is train more Jedi, because we could do with more Jedi, because look at what good the Jedi did. My, Obi-Wan and Yoda taught me these things, and I was able to change the world.
That's not how it really goes, though. Like, he doesn't start training Ben until... Like, Leia asks him to do it. He doesn't really want to.
Sure.
Like, Leia top... Like, this is sort of canon. But basically, Leia said, can you train Ben? He needs to be taught.
In any case...
She says in full place, I thought Luke could help him.
Sure.
Like, he doesn't really want to do it. Go on.
Yeah, let me get through the idea, because otherwise it'll crumble. So you got this idea where, like, he is trying to figure out how to be the person that, like, be this thing he's become continuously. Like, the idea is that, like, this is a thing I think about outside of Star Wars, but when you put people on pedestals and glorify them as heroic and legendary, you kind of dehumanize them in a way, because you don't allow them to be flawed. Which doesn't matter if it's a fictional character, but really does matter when you take, like, real people and put them on these iconic pedestals and say, like, this person is a glorious hero, isn't he perfect? And you aren't able to, like, then you aren't able to think of them as a human being. And I think this is the kind of experience that Luke is struggling under. And you talk about, like, listening to him talk about his failures. Like, he's like, what do you expect me to do? Walk out there with a laser sword and solve all your problems? That's not actually what I did even the first time. It wasn't just him, there were other people and all of these things. Like, so he's wrestling with this idea that people expect him to be better than he is.
So I think he's come to that after the situation of him, for a fleeting moment, killing Ben. I don't think that's before. I think that's something that's built up over 30 years.
Sure. But my point is that, like, that comes out of, I made another mistake. And now, how can I face that mistake when I'm supposed to be perfect because I'm Luke Skywalker? And then you come to the realization, well, like, I'm a human being. Of course I make mistakes, but he's not able to make peace with the mistake because he's not allowed to make mistakes. And so he starts to resent everyone. It's like Rey turns up and is like, help us, we need Luke Skywalker back. And he's like, fuck off, the Luke Skywalker you imagine doesn't exist because I'm a human being, not a legend. And, like, for me, the arc that he gets in this movie is about him realizing that legends are actually valuable. But because, like, the legend doesn't go out and save the day. The legend inspires the actual people who will save the day to change things in a very pragmatic way. Which is why, he shows up at the end because he's realised, I can make a difference by being the legend 100%, by being distracting and being inspiring. And he goes out and he has what, for me, is a perfect fight. It's a perfectly Luke fight because he doesn't ever strike. And he's not there to hurt his opponent. He's there to just be a distraction. And so he's fighting fully evasively. Partly because he has to, because if he doesn't, you realise he's a projection.
Yeah.
But also because that makes sense to me. That, to me, lines up perfectly with the man who threw his lightsaber away at the end of the last movie. It's like, I don't need to fight anymore. Like, I'm not gonna kill him. Like, he doesn't turn up to end Kylo because he's realised...
Well, he can't anyway because the person...
Well, no, he can't. But he could have gone with Rey when she was there and got in the ship and gone and fought him. But that doesn't make sense. Like, if he goes... Like, for me, then, if he does that, that's Alien and not him.
No, they put themselves in a hole with that. When they show the X-Wing in the water, I was like, I can see... This film is about subverting expectations at the risk of throwing away story in some places. When I saw the X-Wing, I was like, we're going to have a great growth where he can lift the X-Wing out of the water, where he couldn't in Empire Strikes Back. We're going to see him actually do it.
Oh, interesting.
We're going to see some progression. And then he's going to go, and he might not fight Kylo, but he might just distract, and maybe Kylo will kill him, and he'll become a more powerful villain because he has been the one to kill Luke Skywalker. He'll actually win a fight.
I'm sorry. Like, it's just like, you're right. He doesn't win many fights.
He hasn't won any fights, Tim. He'd have been killed by a Praetorian guard had Rey not thrown the lightsaber to him.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Kylo has done nothing except kill Snoke. You accept it. Fine. I see it as Snoke going out like a bitch.
But, like, why does Snoke need to be badass? Like, does
Because
that serve the story?
He's the guy who turned Ben Solo. This is the guy who has fucked everything up. This is the guy leading the Discount Empire to
Discount Empire. Pen shop Empire.
Destruction of the Republic. This is the guy behind everything. He should be not a bitch.
So I think it's interesting.
I know he's a plot. I know now.
No. Like,
I get. He's a plot device for Kylo to become the big bad. Kylo is not together. He's all over the place.
Yeah, it's fucking
He's
cool.
consumed by anger. He's cool. He's not a big bad. Palpatine. He's a calculating guy. He's the plan through the prequels. It's fucking long-winded. He's a patient guy, but not everything goes to plan. But he can improvise. He gets it right. He does the job. Do I see Kylo Ren being anything like that? No, he's a different character.
Oh yeah, sure.
But I don't see the big bad villain of Star Wars being just an angry guy. So this is where I get to, like, where can I really go with Episode 9? There's some outer problems with Disney and Lucasfilm that I'll get into later.
Sure.
Which I have concerns about with which this film has brought out. Who are the Force users we've got? We've got Rey on the Resistance, now they're Rebels side, and we've got Kylo Ren. So what we're going to see in Episode 9 is probably they'll fight each other again. Rey will win because she won in Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
There are reasons, but she's probably going to be stronger, I would hope. But well, in a way I don't, because I think she's clearly a god already. So she's probably going to win. She'll probably kill Kylo because he can't be redeemed.
No, at this point they've moved past that. They flirted with the idea.
I think the moment you kill Han, you can't redeem someone who's going to kill a beloved character like that. It just can't happen. Like, Anakin killed kids, killed the Trade Federation a lot. He did kill Obi-Wan Kenobi, I suppose, but that was before he became the Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things happened after that. That's a different thing. Han Solo is like the legend, and he's just killed his dad, who is Han Solo, the legend, the guy who's known for 30 years. Like, he was never getting redeemed, and they may well do it now. I've said that.
The thing is, like,
I don't think it would fit.
Oh god,
but
no!
Then again, what I
not.
think doesn't matter apparently.
Well, so like the thing is, I think the way that they played him killing his father and the way that they played him afterwards, like I think you could have something like a redemption arc for him after Force Awakens. I think after this movie you can't. Like they've done.
Yeah, he's made his bed. I liked. It was a twist on Return of the Jedi because it was very, very Jedi.
Yeah.
With the elevator, going to meet Discount Emperor, and then all that happening. It was a nice twist on. It was like, what if Vader threw the Emperor down the shaft and was still a baddie?
Yeah.
That's basically what they've done. So it's a nice thing. I think Rey should have joined him.
Oh my god.
I think to keep this interesting, Rey needed to join him.
Oh my god.
When it was happening, I was like, take his hand. Please take his hand.
Oh my god, no. Oh my god. That really disturbs me. Sorry, I'm overreacting for dramatic effect for the podcast, to be clear. Wow, you experienced that storyline really differently to me, though. Like, you had such a really different experience of that plot that's incredible. I have some thoughts about that.
I didn't ever think she was gonna.
No, well, that's a different question.
The film does not do a great job of. It starts off doing a bit like, you went straight to the darkness. Oh my god! And then it's like, it doesn't really. She doesn't have a lot of flaws. She's a bit lonely. She has trouble accepting her parents were apparently drunk people or whatever they were.
Junk traders.
Junkers or whatever it was. Yeah.
They did the same thing she did, only they were alcoholics. Is basically the gist.
Yeah, I don't see the conflict that I think maybe she was supposed to show. Like your turn. No, your turn, Rey. Why? Like I didn't ever get the sense that she was ever gonna. And she never looks like she's gonna, like when he's saying it's time to do it. Like, she's like, don't do this, Ben. There's never a real moment where it's like she might actually fucking turn. Like even with Luke in the Return of Jedi, it's like, no, Luke, what are you doing? No, stop fighting him. No, there's never any of that. They may do it in episode. Maybe this will be the start of Rey goes bad arc, which I kind of want to see. It'll be something different. Like if we have Rey just being the hero of the Resistance again, it's just going to be something we've kind of seen.
So for me, the thing about Kylo Ren that makes him an interesting villain is that he's basically a school shooter. Like, he has the psychological profile of the fucked up kids who grab submachine guns and shoot up schools.
He is a psycho.
But I mean, like, very specifically, you look at the number of, like, skinny white kids who fell in with some alt-right group and got really mad about how a girl wouldn't date them and decided to kill some people. Like, that is a thing that happens a terrifying amount in America over the last 5 to 10 years. Like, and that's a horrible person, right? Like, that's who Kylo Ren is at this point.
I will qualify why I wanted it to happen.
Okay, yeah.
Carry on.
No, sure. Like, I'm assuming it's not because you think Kylo Ren is the best.
I didn't think... He's a stand-up guy.
Oh,
join
God,
him,
no.
Ray. I didn't think it fits Ray to join this psychopath. I just thought, you know what? Do a twist film, but do a twist that's interesting.
Okay. But
to me.
Sure.
So.
But the thing I think that's interesting around the way they've structured it is we were talking in a previous Star Wars episode about how the Empire and the First Order are coded as Nazis.
Yeah, yeah.
Having thought about it more, the Empire is Nazi Germany. The First Order are, like, modern-day neo-Nazis who are, like, dressing themselves up in the same regalia of the Empire, playing Empire pretend, doing, like, Empire Hitler salutes.
Discount Empire, yeah.
But, like, specifically, the fact that their discount is important to your understanding of the First Order, and to, like, Hux as a character, who is one of... I love Domhnall Gleeson, and, like, the way he's chewing the scenery with his performance here.
I don't think that his material is great. But I like how he's playing it.
I
loved his speech in Force Awakens. I wasn't sure about it in Force Awakens. I was like, oh, you're being generic bad guy 11. Then he had the speech. I was like, good. Be that guy. I like it. Then they made him a figure of comedy in this one. And I'm like, You know who I liked and who I kind of would like Hux to be? The guy who's playing it big on the Dreadnought. Like, fire! And he's, I mean, he sees the bombs.
Yeah, I forget the actor's
I want Hux
name.
to be that guy. He looks more like how I would see it. He's an old guy, so he's not going to be like fitting the new. This is the young version of the Empire who doesn't know what they're doing at all. So,
which is, I think, like part of the text of it, right?
Yeah,
is that
like in a way they've been born into this, and it makes them they want to be the next Tarkin, the next Vader. Kind of makes them a little more dangerous because you don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, but like Hux kind of wants to be Tarkin in the way that Kylo wants to be Vader. No, he's nothing like Tarkin. But so the thing is that like the actual neo-Nazis who are dangerous are the trendy young kids who believe that, you know, all black people need to be murdered and that Jews are evil. And it's like those are the people who are like kind of dangerous and terrifying. But this is why I think you can't redeem Kylo Ren now. Because he did the thing where he's like, I want Rey to join me, so I'm going to neg her like some fucking weird like someone who read a fucking pickup artist book once and think that that's going to work. Like he knows this thing about her parents, and so he uses it to make her feel like shit and to manipulate her and go, you're worthless, but I can make you not worthless, right? And that's so horrible.
I took it a different way. You're worthless to some people, but you're not worthless to me.
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
But I don't think it's the same as you're worthless shit, but I can make you better.
Okay, so it's
like,
not.
I think it's a different thing of saying like you're nothing, but I can make you into something. It's not. But I think he's saying you're nothing to some people, but to me you're great.
But that's exactly.
I think it's a different thing.
That is exactly this like toxic, horrible pickup line
idea.
Yeah.
It's not
like,
great.
It's really horrifyingly gross.
Don't say that to people, kids.
Oh God, no! Like, if you want someone to like you, saying everyone else thinks you're shit, but I like you is a great way to be a dickhead. Yeah. But like, to me, like that moment is so like, oh, viscerally, like, oh my God, he's literally like he's negging her. And then thinks that like that's how he's going to get it. That it makes me like.
So I know why you're like no,
God,
no, Ray should
right? Like that's
like,
why I get that experience.
Obviously, that's the point. Like,
yes,
you don't, like if it had been like a Luke and Darth Vader situation, you'd be like, join me. Like, no, don't join him. What are you doing?
But like
but it's also like in this context, I was like, I want to see something interesting. Join him, Ray.
But it's a different kind of relationship because. Kylo is a man and Rey is a woman.
Yeah, it's different.
Like there is all that extra context.
It's
there.
part of the whole Reylo thing, which this film actually did more to give some credence than I thought it had. I don't think it's quite over. I actually think it probably.
I think
they do the whole looking across to each other, and the door closes. So it's like it's probably done now.
Yeah, like thematically they've closed
she's good,
it.
he's bad. Right, we're set for.
But
episode
I think they
9.
did the thing where like Kylo wanted that.
Yeah, I think he still would take her.
So
I think it's more her decision. Like he's looking. When I was watching it last night, I was looking at their expressions. I was like, he's looking at a sort of pleading, like
please don't leave me.
Don't leave. Come back. I want you to join me. And she's like, no, bitch.
I think you're right up until that
closing.
point, and as soon as she closes the door, he's just so angry that he's been rejected, like that.
I don't know.
That he goes into like the
dice as well. So I think there's a lot of. I mean, there's a lot going on.
There's probably
this
more.
is Adam Driver's performance. There's a lot going on. Not all of it is obvious.
Yeah, we don't know exactly, but certainly for the climax of that movie, he's not thinking about that anymore. He's just angry and wants to kill her because he feels hurt. Which again is part of this, like
maybe
this idea of this thing that he's drawing on and making him the bad guy.
Maybe
that's my experience of it. So like for me, I was so viscerally in this is horrible and gross thing that is happening that I was not even. I thought they might do it and was scared that would happen. Right,
but I think that's great.
Yeah, no, that's that makes it a good experience.
If characters made the right, I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite by saying that.
Sure, go ahead.
So I was gonna say if characters made the right decision in every film, it would be fucking boring. Like Anakin going to the dark side, we know it's going to happen, so it's not a twist.
Yeah.
But if we didn't know it was going to happen, it'd be like, no, Anakin, what are you doing? No,
yeah,
no, it'd be tragic. And there's interest in seeing someone go bad.
Yes, there is. If it's well delivered.
It's not. If it's well done, if it's executed well.
But you're right. Like that is a compelling kind of narrative when it's executed well.
And if as there's rumours of he's gonna. Well, why would they stop? He's gonna be at 10, 11, 12.
Oh,
maybe that can be her redemption
so,
arc.
Okay,
you know?
so actually, there's some news that they have signed up Rian Johnson to do another trilogy.
Yeah.
But it's completely unrelated.
It's not gonna be the sagas. It's gonna be something completely different.
But like also Daisy Ridley has said like, no, I'm done after the next one.
She has backtracked on that.
Oh, has she?
Yeah.
Okay.
She said, as far as I know, I'm done after 9, but they may get me back at some point in the future. She said that after. It's like Ian McDiarmid. Yeah, I'm done after Return of the Jedi. No, came back for the prequels.
Yeah, that's that kind of thing. Like,
so she's saying that kind of thing could happen again.
Yeah.
It's just as far as I know right now.
Yeah, like
9 is the last thing I'm doing.
Yeah, so. Like they're not talking to me about what I might do in episode 10. Like my character's story is over there, but there's no reason I couldn't come back for something in the future, like 20 years later.
And Kathleen Kennedy also said that like future films will be about telling Rey, Poe, and I think it was Finn.
Presumably,
I think it was Finn.
I want more Finn. I love Finn.
I love John Boyega. I like Finn. I wish he'd been given more to do.
Have you seen Attack the Block, which John Boyega was in?
I haven't seen it yet. No. I've been meaning to get.
It is well worth a watch. It is well worth a watch.
Yeah, I've heard it's good. Yeah, I think John Boyega's great, and he knows how to play a Star Wars character. He's brilliant. I think his plot point with Rose and DJ, the guy.
Yeah, I know. I know what his name is by this point.
Yeah, apparently in Arabesh, I think on his hat it says "Don't join."
Oh God.
Okay,
great.
Like, you can't read it, but
no,
you know it. So.
But there's that thing, like, you can't read it, so it doesn't affect your experience with the film. But when you learn that, you're like, I see what they did there.
Yeah,
that wasn't. Yeah. It's subtle because you don't know, but as soon as you know, it stops being subtle.
Yeah. Which is kind of this film. It's not very subtle. The whole Canto Bite thing, no.
Okay, talk to me a bit more about what you didn't like about Canto Bite.
It's pointless.
Okay.
It's boring. It kind of falls apart. They go looking for the only guy who can do this.
No, the only guy that Maz trusts to do it, which is not the same as the only person who can do it, just the only person she thinks won't fuck them over. She says, there is only one person I trust.
I'm trying to think back to the video game scene where she instructs them of what they have to do. I can't remember. Maybe she says that.
She definitely does. Okay. I've thought about that part a lot.
Okay. But if you gloss over it, which is easy to do.
Sure.
I'm not the only one who's complained about this. They go looking for one guy, they get the other. The BB-8 tying up the guys.
Okay.
No. I've seen this phrase a lot. It's a bit Disney. Not that scene. I mean the BB-8 stuff, like him
all of the
driving
BB-8.
The AT-ST. Like, hey, it's me, BB-8. Look at that. No, it's a bit too much. So, a lot of it isn't very Star Wars to me.
Okay.
I think the Canto Bite subplot is there to. It's more bothered or the writing is more bothered about sending a message about real world stuff than it is about having a decent subplot going on in the realms of the story, like about the animal rights thing, the weapons funding, all that. Which it kind of goes back on by saying, "Oh no, look, they're funding the resistance as well." So I think it's more bothered about doing stuff with that. The riding the CGI creatures, very Harry Potter to me, not Star Wars at all.
Oh, interesting comparison. I wasn't expecting you to go there.
That's how I thought of it. I thought this is a very sort of Harry rides the hippogriff
moment.
Yeah, and crashing through the actually reminded me of Jumanji, where it's just a flood of creatures crashing through towns.
Right. Okay.
That's a different thing.
There's a very different thing.
That's what it's reminding me of. It's not reminding me of Star Wars. Yeah. Is my point.
Yeah. No, I take your point. I was trying to remember. Like I maybe have seen Jumanji once when I was a child.
Yeah, it's not.
Worth going back to? No, probably.
It's only because I've seen the everything wrong with thing.
Okay.
Because the new one came out. So
yeah, I bet.
That's what it is. Like the setting, I like. People have been like, "Oh, it's a bit prequelish."
But like,
I don't mind it. I don't mind the prequels.
But that's
okay.
But like, that's what that's part of the Star Wars galaxy is stuff that looks like that as well as stuff that looks pretty.
There's people who haven't accepted that there was a life before the original trilogy when everything was the used universe. It was great. Look how it went to shit.
And that's like
the point of the prequels.
That's an important part of the context.
It's not Star Wars. But anyway, this is not a prequel discussion, Lee. So
not this episode.
No.
Every other episode, though.
So,
I don't mean that as a judgment. I just mean I've just edited the other Star Wars episodes, and we talk about the prequels in both of them.
Yeah, about episodes, not about the prequel.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me the way it looks. They're right. It does look very prequelish. Doesn't really bother me how it looks. They get there's a few little things like they couldn't just park it anywhere else. They had to dump it on the beach. That's why they get chucked in jail.
But like really? they aren't the people who would be good for this mission. They are really the wrong people for that kind of mission by a wide margin. They're just the only people who could do it. And they shouldn't have been there is kind of the point of the whole scene. And that kind of, for me reinforces that like they aren't competent at this.
The worst thing about it is there was no need for them to be there.
But that's the whole point of that plot, is that they really fucked up because they were trying to be big damn heroes and at a time that they shouldn't have been.
I think the problem they've got is Holdo's not telling them a fucking thing. They don't know what her plan is. She doesn't appear to have a plan at all. They're thinking this might be our only chance of keeping this resistance alive. I'm on board with them.
And you're supposed to be on board with them.
But I don't think you're meant to think Poe's a great guy. I think you're supposed to think he's a bit of a dick, isn't he? Go on, Holdo. Go on, Leia. Slap him. What a dick. I don't. The problem the film has is I'm remembering, because it's the same day as Force Awakens. I'm remembering Poe has helped save Han, Chewie, Finn from the siege of Maz's castle. He's just not single-handedly, but he's blown up Starkiller Base, saving the Resistance. He's just led the attack on the Dreadnought, which would have blown them up.
Recklessly disobeyed an order.
He still saved their lives, because they're tracking them through hyperspace, right?
Sure.
They escape the Dreadnought, go into hyperspace. It tracks them. It follows the lead ship through, and then it blows them all up because it can shoot from orbit, so it can shoot from a great distance. It doesn't have to be in the line of sight, so it blows them up. End of Resistance. Without Poe disobeying the orders, leading the bombers, I don't know why they're there, because Leia's apparently telling them all to back off, but apparently they're just listening to Poe. Fine. If he doesn't blow the ship up, the ship will follow them and blow them up.
See, but like Snoke's ship is presented as being just as capable as a Dreadnought. Like Snoke's ship is a different kind of Dreadnought. It's just as big. I don't
think it is.
It's just as big. Not bigger.
It doesn't have the same weapons. It has that. I can't remember what the fucking name is it now. Like this big cannon. It shoots from orbit. It blows up the
they think they call it an auto cannon
system. It doesn't have to see them. It can just do it from orbit. Right. So if they don't blow up the Dreadnought follows them through hyperspace and just blows them up anyway. So he saved them. If you're not even counting the Maz stuff, he saved them twice. And now you're going to treat him like he's some hothead loose cannon, which maybe he's a little bit, but it's had good results. He's kept them alive. Even then, if he's such a loose cannon, and there's a good chance he's going to go off on his own and do something stupid, why don't you just keep him on side, tell him what's going on, and none of this shit happens?
I think, for me, the one part of it that it struck me as odd, if you're in the leadership position in that scenario, Now, I am not an admiral or a general or any kind of military leader, so there is that caveat. I would feel like in that scenario, you'd want to tell every single person, we have a very specific plan to save as many lives as possible. Here's my specific plan. We're heading to a specific planet, and we'll get in the pods and we'll go.
Undetected.
Right, like...
Which falls apart because Poe then... Because he finds out and has to let Finn and Rose know because they've already decided Holdo's not going to tell us anything. We don't even trust her because she comes off as a complete twat when Poe asks her what the mission is. So there's a portion of the film where you're like, I wonder if she's an Imperial spy. It plants that in you. And then it becomes clear, no, she's just a fucking twat.
See, so, but like,
without them having to go, DJ doesn't find out and tell the First Order. There's no battle on Crate, which is not good for the film because it's less entertaining. But they get away and they just wait. Like they say it. Oh, that's a good plan. The First Order just goes by and we sit there undetected. Pretty good plan. And you're like, yeah. Why didn't you fucking say so?
But there's the other angle where like Poe is a soldier in a military organization. His job is to shut up and take orders. Like, that is literally his job. And if he's not doing that, you need to squash that out of an insubordinate soldier before they do something dangerous.
But they don't squash it out. They don't throw him in Briggs or something. They just let him fuck off and do his own thing. He doesn't get any real consequence other than a slap and a demotion. And this film isn't tracking what he's done. He should be treated with a fuck ton more respect than he is, considering he's basically the hero of the Resistance so far. Rey's done nothing really at this point. And Finn is who he is for desertion of the First Order. For renouncing, sorry.
Yeah.
Poe's the one who's actually got shit done. So, if you're going to try and squash out him, throw him away somewhere. Like, put him somewhere. He can't be a danger if you think he's a hothead and a loose cannon. Or, like, look, you are what you are, but you saved us all. And when it becomes clear they're being tracked, like, oh, the Dreadnought would have got us. Oh, Poe, well done.
The thing is...
You're a hero.
The thing is, like...
You've led people to their deaths. That happens in war. People will die. Like,
okay, so
you've saved us all. You're a hothead, but stay with me on this.
So, like, the Dreadnought comment, like, they don't know that they're being tracked. They can be tracked through hyperspace at the time when he decides to go on a mission that he's been recalled from and get a bunch of allies killed.
Yeah,
which is to say,
when they realise.
So he fucking lucked out. Like, it was a good idea in retrospect.
If they couldn't have been tracked, fair enough.
Yeah, if they couldn't have been tracked, which was the assumption that Poe was operating under, it's a stupid fucking move. Which means it was still a stupid fucking move because.
But as it turns out, it was a great move.
But so here's the thing: I powerfully believe, and this is a thing I believe about life, that the right move isn't about, like, in anything, isn't about did it work out or not in the end. It's about, did I make the best decision with the information I had available? And he made a bad decision with the information he had available. Because with the information he had available, he didn't need to blow the ship up for them to be safe.
He was saying this is a fleet killer. Like, this thing is gonna get us. Like,
sure, but not today.
It's not a one-sided decision. All right, not today. All right, well, they'll just get us tomorrow then, and we're dead anyway. You know, like, it's not a one-sided thing of, like, this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing. This is the right thing from where you're coming from. This is the right thing from where you're coming from. You can kill this. We've got a great chance of getting rid of this thing now, which is going to follow us and blow us to hell anyway. Why don't we just get rid of it? And then, as it turns out, thank God he did. Like, I know what you're saying. Like, you can't do things on the basis of it might work out. Oh, it worked out in the end, so it's fine. But as it turns out, he has saved everyone by doing it. And then they have the knowledge because they're like, oh shit, they're tracking us. Good job, Poe. No one says that. Like, everyone hates him still. Like, yeah, you made a bad decision in the moment, but all right.
It's not.
You haven't made a great decision, but as it turns out, it would have fucked us all if you followed orders.
I mean, not everyone hates him because several members of the crew stand with him.
Yeah, I know, but the people who matter do, or Holdo does, as it turns out. Leia's slapping him. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. Like, why wouldn't she tell him, man?
So it
would have made everything a lot easier.
So this is the one thing: is it strikes me that a really effective way to deal with Poe Dameron as being reckless and needs, like, and we need him to not be reckless and fuck things up, is to tell him what's going on. Like, that would be effective.
You go about it either one or two ways. You either chuck him in Briggs, keep him away from everyone because he's a fucking liability, or he's a fucking liability. Tell him everything, keep him on side.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been nice to have a bit more of. Like...
I've seen arguments like, oh, well, in the real army, they wouldn't tell anyone anything. They just say follow the plan. But this is Star Wars. This isn't totally real. And also, let's look at it with a modicum of common sense. Just fucking tell him the plan, man. He doesn't send Rose and Finn off to where they need to get killed on the Star Destroyer. DJ doesn't inadvertently hear everything and tell the First Order where they are. Holdo would probably still have died because she's going to stay on the ship anyway.
I mean, like,
who cares? She's a twat. Like, no, you're not redeeming her by saying, I like him. Like, no.
So like, the thing about, like, DJ overhearing all the plan is he only overhears the plan because...
they've gone to Canto Bight and got him. Because
Poe is telling them the plan over a radio, which is really poor operational security.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's kind of partly on Poe.
But he doesn't do that without the stuff beforehand.
Sure.
Like, they're not there to... He doesn't have to contact them on a radio if they haven't already left. You know?
But, like, assume that he does what a soldier is expected to do and follows orders. It also doesn't go to shit, right? Like, it doesn't go to shit if he does what he's told. Is kind of the thrust of that whole plot.
I know, but, like, these are rebels.
Sure.
They're where they are because they do shit to authority.
But the thing is, they're rebels by default because they were the army of the.
They're not the army. They're a division.
They were.
They are. The Republic doesn't believe in the First Order. Like, this is all canon stuff.
Sure.
That you're not going to know otherwise because the film has no idea about world building. Basically, the story is Leia finds out that there's some shady fucking shit going on. She tries to warn the Republic. Then it comes out she's Darth Vader's daughter, so no one wants to believe her or give her the time of day. So she sets up the Resistance, sort of in secret, which is why they have old ships, because they can't use anything new because the Republic doesn't want to let them.
Right, okay.
First Order is also doing their thing in secret. So the Republic has nothing to do with it, really. They just get blown up in Force Awakens, which we don't... Because no one really knows they're the Republic until Finn goes, that was the Republic! You know,
he points at the whole sky.
He literally does.
No, he literally does. I remember it. He literally points at the whole sky.
So that's where we are. If you know the canon stuff, if you don't know, you kind of have no idea what is really going on in the world because there's no crawl to describe anything of what's going on really. It's
but
the First Order reigns because they blew up the Republic.
I would maintain though that, as interesting as that stuff is, it isn't really necessary, and I feel like that's true about most of Star Wars.
I think it's necessary to. No, I disagree. I think it's necessary to. Like,
I don't think knowing the history of the Emperor is necessary to the original trilogy, for instce.
You don't,
because you don't know that much about him in the original trilogy as like a single example.
You get hints about it, like in A New Hope, you get the scene of the Emperor has dissolved the Senate, fear will control them now. Like, okay, yeah. So this is because the Empire is the embodiment of the Emperor, as it will be. Okay, this guy wants to rule by fear, and then in Empire Strikes Back, there is a great disturbance in the Force. Oh shit, he's a Force user as well. Oh good. So you come into Return of the Jedi, you know a bit about him, you fear him. He's a Sith Lord. He wants to rule by fear, and then you build on that in Return of the Jedi with his scenes.
Sure.
And the prequel stuff, the best bit of the prequels is the Emperor. Ian McDiarmid's performance is the best bit of the prequels by a long chalk. So I won't sit here and say you didn't need to find out about the Emperor because thank God we did.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's not interesting.
We didn't necessarily need to, but you do hear stuff about what's going on in the galaxy.
Sure.
And with the special editions of Return of the Jedi, you get the scenes of what it's done to the galaxy to blow up the second Death Star. You get the Coruscant stuff.
Yeah.
You have an idea of where it is a contained story because it's about Han, Leia, Luke. You still have an idea of what's going on around it. With this, the biggest idea you have is they call for help, no one comes. Apart from that, we don't really know what. Like, Canto Bight is apparently going on as if nothing has happened. They don't really care either way. No one's coming to help because apparently they don't really care either way. That's about all we get. So I can't remember what the point was before.
Okay, so let's segue into some other topic of discussion then.
I've got Super Leia.
Super Leia. Okay, sure. Talk to me about Super Leia.
Needs no explanation.
No, I will be honest. Like it visually doesn't look great.
No.
I like it as a moment where Leia can finally get to interact with the Force.
People have complained. We don't see Leia use the Force before. No, that's not the problem. And we kind of have because she senses Luke in Empire Strikes Back, and she senses that he's fine and made it out of the Death Star 2 in Return of the Jedi. She can use the Force. She's a Skywalker. That's fine.
That's fine.
The execution, terrible.
I don't think it's terrible.
It looks terrible,
but
in
it's
my
not
opinion.
great.
What she should have done, and this is me being a rewriter, which is stupid, but still. What she should have done was she floats out into space. She sees like a grappling hook. She pulls it to her, pulls herself back in. Don't fly back towards the ship. Like the film introduces a lot of Force stuff that not everyone's going to buy.
Sure.
That's one of them.
I think this was one of the comments and criticisms about...
This is the Mary Poppins moment as I've seen it, and it does look staggeringly like a Mary Poppins scene.
But like this is something people were saying about Force Awakens as well, is that the uses of the Force seem bigger and grander than they were in previous films.
But they're not a huge step from what we've seen before.
Sure.
It's like when Yoda lifts the X-Wing out. If he'd just gone and done it, he'd be like, no real basis for how you can suddenly do that. But people would have more problems with it. But because we've seen Luke lifting rocks, it's building up.
Yeah.
So it builds up your belief of what can be possible. If you go straight to the thing, in Empire Strikes Back, we've seen Vader. He can stop bullets.
Yeah.
With what we've seen, like with and lifting stuff out of water, you can believe stuff. So you can believe Kylo Ren can freeze a blaster bolt.
Oh, sure, it's within the same
It's just
world.
the next step.
Yeah.
You can believe he can freeze people. It's just the next step to what we've seen before. What we see in Last Jedi is a few steps along.
Oh, sure.
And so not everyone's going to buy it as easily as some people might. And there's also, if some of it looks a bit ridiculous, it's even more difficult to buy.
It's not a perfect bit of visual. Like, it could look better. And
I've got no problem with it using the Force.
No.
I think it's great. I thought, what a great opportunity to see Leia. Like, it just makes sense.
I loved it.
Like,
I loved it as a moment.
She would have gained Force powers. She must be doing something with them. So, great. No problem with the idea. You couldn't think of a better way to do it. Really? That's my problem with it.
Yeah, it could look better. I feel that way. I like this movie enough to forgive it.
I think this is the one, like, there's some great stuff in the film, not enough for me to save it. There's some good scenes. A few good scenes doesn't make a good film for me.
I mean, I agree with you that a few good scenes doesn't make a good film.
I know you
I
think
disagree.
You think there's more than a few.
I think most of the scenes are quite good.
Yeah, but you're finding good scenes in characters that you believe where they've gone.
Yeah, and
if you don't believe Luke Scott, this is the Luke Skywalker that you know and have come to know over the last however many years you've watched Star Wars. If you're not buying any of this shit going on, these aren't good scenes to you. Now, having said that, I did it the Luke, Rey, Kylo stuff on the island. Force Skype or Force Time.
Force Time.
I'm
yes.
loving.
Force Time. I love that. I'm using that. Yes. Force Time.
Force Time. All right. It's a bit. It's just the next. It maybe you can see it as just the next step from they can communicate through the Force like Vader does it with Luke. I liked how they called back a bit to that with Leia and Kylo when he's flying the ship and it does the little fade in, fade out. I liked that. That was cool. So I can just about get on board because also Snoke's doing it.
Yes,
that was the best stuff in the film to me because it was building like the Rey kind of thing. I have trouble with like she hates him for killing Han, then suddenly she sees Luke's going to kill him, and so she's connecting with him now. Like, don't you still hate him for killing Han? Like, what? So that's a minor thing,
sure,
but that's a little bit of a character thing that I'm like, there's a few problems there. So yeah, that stuff I'm okay with. Even though I don't agree with the direction they've got him with Luke Skywalker. Interestingly enough, Mark Hamill didn't either. That's quite a public thing, and he's had to backtrack a little bit by saying it's still a great film. Well, so like, don't listen to what I said. I was wrong.
Well, like I've literally seen the thing that he's saying, like, you know, and having seen the film, I was wrong. Yeah, like that to me isn't pretty ambiguous.
I can't help. Like I saw, you know, I'm like, I was keeping
absolutely.
It with everything that was going on. And there's been YouTube compilations of every time Mark Hamill warned us, there's some pretty damning stuff. Like, he says a lot. I fundamentally disagree with like, he went into Rian Johnson after reading this. I fundamentally disagree with everything you've written for Luke Skywalker. And he said that quite a lot. And so now he's suddenly, and this wasn't long ago when he was saying this stuff as well, like summer, a few months before the film came out. And then I think he must have been told, you kind of got to stop saying this stuff. At Celebration, he was in the midst of saying stuff like this. Like, Luke isn't really a big part of this story because it's not really the same guy. And then Kathleen Kennedy cut him off and was like, can I just say, Luke is a main guy in this. So there was a lot of damage control going on because Mark Hamill was being quite outspoken. When he's saying all this stuff, Ryan Johnson sat next to him, you can see him squirming. And this was at Celebration. Like, this is the con for Star Wars.
Yeah. So I think there's an interesting question that raises.
That's where a lot of people are like, this isn't Luke. And it definitely isn't, because Mark Hamill said this wasn't Luke as well. And he knows. Like, he was into this back when it was being done in the 80s. So
this raises an interesting question that you get occasionally in lots of different things. The other big example of this that I think of is Blade Runner, the original one, where there's the question about, is Deckard a replicant? And like Harrison Ford and Ridley Scott disagreeing over that. So I think there's this question about who is the authority on characters in art, and the way I feel about it is the authority is your audience, right? Because once you've made it, it's up to each person watching the film to decide whether they think it is or isn't Luke.
I think it's up to you.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think Mark Hamill saying it makes it more true.
I think there's more credence to it.
No, see, I disagree because I think he doesn't own Luke Skywalker.
I think he kind of does.
I think no one who makes anything owns it once an audience has it. I think that's fundamental to art.
I think without Mark Hamill, Star Wars isn't what it is.
I'm not saying Mark Hamill isn't the reason it is what it is.
He was George Lucas, who also isn't involved.
Yeah,
which I think is a very important thing that isn't helping the films nowadays. Without those, Star Wars isn't what it is. They know the characters. They know where they wanted to go with it. They know how the characters would be. If Mark Hamill disagrees with what Luke Skywalker is, I didn't put a lot of stock in it.
Yeah.
So this isn't me going in thinking, well, this isn't going to be the Luke Skywalker I know. So this is how the conclusion I came to, and now I remembered stuff because stuff on YouTube was appearing after that from other people who didn't like it. And they're like, and Mark Hamill was trying to warn us, and kind of was. So it wasn't stuff about Luke. It was like, Jedi don't give up, and he's a coward. He's unlikable.
The point that I sort of am reaching at is if you feel like it isn't Luke, then that's a valid opinion to have, and it's a valid opinion for Mark Hamill to have. I just don't think it being Mark Hamill's opinion makes it more important. No. Mark Hamill's opinion on Luke Skywalker isn't more important than the audience's opinion on Luke Skywalker. I don't think it is. I don't think anyone who makes something gets more to say about the work once an audience has it than the audience does. You give it to the audience and it's not yours anymore, and that's fundamentally what art is about. Is it's me giving you something I've made.
It feels like to me, Mark Hamill's one of the original crew who was there, doing it all. Now we've got Ryan Johnson who wasn't there, and there's people who are doing what they think is Star Wars. And this is where, with Mark Hamill saying, kind of wrong, this isn't what we had in mind when we were doing it. That's where I put more stock in what he thinks.
So I think the only thing that we haven't spent much time talking about that I really want to talk about is that final sequence on whatever the planet is called, the Salt Planet. Crate.
Which they make sure to tell you is not Hoth.
It's definitely not Hoth, guys.
It's salt.
Yeah, I still...
We get it. It's not Hoth. Don't worry.
So that's what you think that's about? Because I was sitting there going, why is he going, it's salt? What is that about? It's to make it very clear that it's not Hoth, I guess.
Or just not taste it.
Yeah, maybe just, don't...
They're making a point because everyone was like, Force Awakens is too derivative of the original trilogy.
Sure.
That's what it is.
I still think that line is weird. It's okay, I get it.
It's just because you got the walkers on the planet as well. It's very Hoth.
I don't think it's weird. I think it's clunky. It's a clunky way to tell you what's going on.
The film is clunky.
I disagree. Well, I think that moment is definitely a clunky moment.
I think the film is very ham-fisted with the way it delivers messages and themes, particularly the Canto Bight stuff. Very, very cool. And when Rose stops Finn, that's how we're going to win. Saving the things we love, not fighting the things we hate, or whatever it was. The comment, it's quite... I actually laughed yesterday when I was watching it, because in the background, you can see them blowing up the door, about to go and kill the Resistance. Saving the things we love. Everyone's dying behind you. Finn was saving what he loved by sacrificing himself. Stupid line. Horrible. No. And then the kisses. Yeah. At least Anakin and Padme look like wanting to fuck each other.
But like, so
God.
like I don't. I think for Finn it's like this is happening. Okay. Like
Yeah.
I don't think he was expecting any of that.
Yeah, it's a one-sided romance, bless her.
Yeah.
Although he's tucking her in, so maybe they will get together.
But see, like tucking.
And Poe and Ray have the classic. I'm Poe. I'm Ray. I know. So okay, they're getting together then.
I didn't read that as being that at all.
It is. It's a cliche thing.
Like, so I watched that and just went, wait, shit, have they really not met?
He sees her saying looks good on the antenna with BB-8, and he's like, oh, she likes BB-8. Maybe we could have a thing going on here. That's how I got from his expression.
Okay.
He goes over and he's like, I'm Poe. I'm Ray. I know. You know.
I didn't read it that way
Fair
at
enough.
all.
Fair enough.
Not even a little bit.
Fair enough.
Like respect for the person who'd come and saved their lives, maybe by arriving with a ship when they needed a ship.
Because she's talking to BB-8 and he glances at her and he's like, oh, she likes him.
Okay,
It's
like,
that glance, and then he goes over and introduces himself. It's like it's the cliche sort of like, we're going to be a thing in the next film. That's how I see it. I've seen it in films before.
Okay,
it's
I
the
didn't.
same thing
I didn't read it that way.
If
but
it doesn't
that's
happen,
fine.
I will give you 20 quid.
Okay, well we've got that on record.
On record. If Poe and Ray aren't a thing, and it has been rumoured since Force Awakens for no reason because they never met them.
Oh, yeah. We're going to rumour it because people like coming up with stories.
Yeah.
Just to be clear,
I'm putting this forward because that is the cliche thing that I've seen a million times before in other films, in bad films as well. Oh, you like something I like. They introduce themselves, and then they grow to become a couple.
Okay.
So that's how I'm seeing it.
Okay.
I'm not the only one.
No, I'm not saying
I'm
you
not
are.
crazy, Tim.
I don't think you're crazy. I just like you. We've learned you had a very different experience of this film than I did.
Yeah. That's his film. People are seeing things other people didn't see in both ways. Like, you're seeing themes other people haven't seen. Some people have seen the themes and don't buy it.
Sure.
Some people are on board. Some people aren't.
But I think that like
that's this film. It's
definitely
it's the most divisive in Star Wars.
It's definitely interesting. I think it's definitely like
yeah,
these conversations are
I
interesting.
will give them that. At least they did something.
At least it wasn't boring.
But, I did. Yeah.
Which I know is in some ways a cop out.
I disagree. It's not boring.
Okay.
I thought there was some stuff like, oh, that's it then. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think the film is boring. I think the Canto Bight stuff is boring. The second time I was in the theatre, I was like, I don't remember this dragging like it did before. But then the first time you watch it, everything's new, so you're mentally racing to keep up. The second and third times you watch it, you're like, oh, this is longer than I remember it.
See, like the first time I watched it, I felt like a lot of it was cut really fast in a way that was like difficult to follow, like some of the chasey stuff. And the second time I didn't have that problem. So the fact that it did feel slower the second time was an improvement for me.
Because you're not thinking ahead.
Yeah.
In the first instance, you're in the present, like everything's new, everything's new.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So then you are racing to keep up because you're right, it is cut like that. But the second time you see it, you know what's coming up, so you're not focusing on what might be coming up.
I do feel like it's really difficult to have a really nuanced or complete opinion about a film having seen it once, and I feel like this is true of most films. Now, being self-aware,
opinions change on second and third viewings.
Oh, sure,
sometimes. And
like being self-aware, this is a podcast where sometimes we'll talk about a movie we only saw once. Yep. That's fine. It's okay to have opinions.
Some films only need one viewing.
Yeah, like I didn't need to see Dunkirk a second time to know that I had some competent thoughts about it. But like very frequently you get a different experience on your second viewing of a film, and that's worth noting. That's not just true of this. That's true of, I think, more films than it isn't true of. So the thing that I really want to talk about is like the Force projection.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it, but partly because the first time I watched it, my experience was he appears in the cave and I'm like, is he Force projecting? Like almost immediately. Like, how is he here? And I was expecting it to be like, you zoom in on Leia and then you zoom out and he's gone again. And he was just there for like her. And then he's still there and he doesn't go. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's not. What the hell is going on? And then was just really confused. And then eventually was like, oh, he was, okay. And then the second time I'm watching, I'm like, how did I not, like, every shot is showing you that he's not real. Every single shot.
Yeah. The only thing I was confused about was, how is he doing it? Never seen this before. How's he doing it? Because it's young Luke.
Yeah.
Brown beard, shorter hair, different clothing, blue lightsaber that we've just seen.
Lightsaber we've just seen exploded. It shows you Kylo Ren moving his foot and moving the salt, and then Luke does the same motion.
Yeah. And that's not subtle.
No, it's not.
They show it.
This
a
was
couple
the thing.
of times.
This was the thing that was impressive to me in my second viewing. I was like, Jesus, that was not subtle. How did I not take that in on my first viewing? Like, that wasn't subtle at all.
Yeah, I mean, impressive is the wrong word, I think.
I was impressed by my own blindness, shall we say.
Fair enough.
Like, I was like, wow, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
But because I was thinking about other things, I
saw it on
suppose.
YouTube, like, things you didn't realise about the Luke thing. Like, no, it's all this is the first time they linger on it. They show it's not happening.
Yeah, they don't. Like, they make a point of framing
They're not shy
it.
about it.
No, they're not.
Like, they've just said there's no way in or out apart from this door. How's he getting in that way? So, at first, obviously, the first viewing, you're all hyped up. Like, yes, Luke looks younger. Oh, God, what? How's he doing this? Hey, Force, what?
Yeah, you're
He's
really...
floating? What? Added to this, I'm also not invested in the character because
Sure.
he's not the guy I thought he was. I'm also like, what? To be fair, they do say with Kylo, like, you can't be doing this, the effort would kill you. So I know why he died. I get why he died. It didn't hit me.
Okay. Not even the twin sons?
No.
Okay.
I mean, fair play, they're going for it. They're going all out. Twin sons, poetry. We're going to have it all like, Luke's going to die in front of him. It's going to be a great shot. And it is. It's a wonderful shot. You know what would have been better if I found it satisfying at all.
Okay.
So it's the same thing with the lightspeed thing. If I liked Holdo, I've seen some like ideas like why didn't they just get Akbar to do it? Like why he's a cult character. It's a trap. You know, why are they blasting him out and giving him a token line? Like why don't you just get him? Like, I know obviously it'd be like Akbar. Why don't you just tell him? Like then everyone would hate him because the problem Holdo's got is you're thinking you stupid bitch. Why don't you just tell him? Like, none of this would have happened if it weren't for you twat. Yeah, go and fucking die in the bloody lightspeed crash.
But like the point of that whole thing is
the
that
point
like,
of it is it's a visual thing.
Well, like no, but
what makes visuals better is if you care.
No, but like with like if you put Akbar there, then Poe's relationship to Akbar is completely different, and the whole plot doesn't work.
It's a completely different story. It's just a sort of what would make us care more is if there was a character that we knew.
I don't give a shit about Admiral Akbar.
I know you don't.
I don't know why anyone would give a shit about Admiral Akbar because he has one line that matters in the whole saga.
He's a cult character to those who have been around it since they're kids.
But my point is
that
like,
a trap is one of the is a pop culture line.
Like Admiral Akbar is maybe you have an attachment to if for like the super fans.
You have
I don't think most people give a shit about Admiral Akbar, which therefore makes it not function. The problem is
you're right.
the problem is the movie. This movie needs you to make you care about what happens then. Even if it's Akbar, that movie needs to make you care about Akbar. If it's just Akbar doing it and you like Akbar because of the other movies, then that movie had still failed. Like, this movie needs to make you care about that moment. You can't care about that. And, like, fair enough.
Did you care that Holdo died?
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I was like...
No. Did you care that Holdo died?
Yes.
Why?
Because for me, I experienced that story from Poe's perspective, where he's like... He makes this snap judgment about who she is based on what she looks like and the way she's behaving and thinks that she's a coward. He calls her a coward. And at the end, I'm like, she's not a fucking coward. That's not what a coward does. That's what a hero does. This is a hero. And like, you see it as Poe sees it and realizes that he misjudged this person. And I experienced it in that same way. I was like, I fucking look at this. We shouldn't judge her for the way she looks or the way she behaves because she's a fucking general. Like, look at, like, this is what heroes do. That's how I felt watching it.
You take from that what you will.
Yeah.
I think she's an idiot. I hate the woman. I think she's a total idiot. But okay, fine.
I don't necessarily think that every beat of that plot was 100%, but I was with it. I was definitely with it, and I felt emotionally invested. So that's where I'm at.
Well done. You got some investment where I didn't. I thought one token scene of her going, he's a hothead or whatever it was on. I like him. Oh, she's a great person now. Because the first scene, like, it's not like she's doing nothing to give him that impression. Like, I've seen flyboys like you before. Like, thank you for letting us know.
The thing is,
like, what a twat! Like, he's just saved. Like, we're coming back to his point again. He's just saved everyone like twice.
But like he didn't just save everyone. He just got a lot of people killed who didn't need to die. That's fundamentally what that plot is about. Is he got a lot of people killed?
It falls apart with the fact that they would have died had the Dreadnought been left alone to come through and kill them.
But it does. But like he doesn't
falls
know
apart.
that, and also like.
But they have knowledge.
And
after, and they're
I
still treating him like shit.
maintain the Dreadnought and Snoke's ship are presented as equivalent threats.
They're not. They're completely different ships. They look different for a start.
Oh, like I'm not saying they're the same ship. I'm saying they're equally threatening.
Well, they're not, because otherwise they'd have just zapped them with Snoke's ship. They don't have the same weaponry. The Dreadnought is a fleet killer. It can zap things from outer space on planets from orbit. It would have had them after travelling through higher space with the rest of the ships.
I don't buy that.
Why?
So because it's a range issue, and being in orbit around a planet isn't the same thing as like you don't get enough scale to know that cannon isn't out of range.
You do. You see them following the ships. After in the slowest chase in the world.
I mean, it is a very slow chase.
I've got that in my notes. Like the kind of plot of having this, that we'll wait for them to run out of fuel. Not the most exciting thing to watch. It's like if you watched a police camera action,
right?
And here we join the police as they wait for the robber to run out of fuel.
Sure,
must watch TV, I'm sure. But that's another thing. But they show like Kylo Ren and his TIE fighters go because they can't get through because they're just a little bit too far away. They're close enough to zap. They're close enough to hit them, but their shield is there, so they can't get through with that weaponry. The Dreadnought can get through.
Okay,
they were close enough to zap it, but their weaponry wasn't strong enough. The Dreadnought's weaponry is, and it can shoot from a further distance anyway, so it would have had them. It's a fact in the story that the film isn't tracking, but an audience member will be, and they're also tracking that Poe's just done all this shit because we're picking up straight away. Why are you treating him like a twat?
I mean, because you got a bunch of people killed who didn't need to die there. Like, you, at the end of the day, you don't know about the Lightspeed tracking thing.
If you do that, you never have any battles, man. Like, people could die in this war. Like, it's a very liberal thing. Like, we shouldn't have war, which is right. We shouldn't have war, but it's happening.
It's not even
die. Accept it.
No, but it's a strategic issue, right? They don't have enough people to fight a war, like an attrition war like that. Like Poe is engaging in like a victory battle, a battle he wins, but that takes heavy losses in. The Resistance doesn't have enough people to fight that kind of war. Is like they don't have enough people to fight that kind of war. I know that. It's a dumb tactical decision.
I know that. But in light of what happens later, thank God he did it. That's where I'm coming from. I know you can't do things because, well, it might turn out to be the right decision, but things happen, right or wrong. As it turned out, it was the best thing that he did it.
Okay, so like
they shouldn't be talking to him like that. Anyway, he's just blown up Starkiller Base, which would have had them anyway. Like, there's no Last Jedi without Poe Dameron. So then they spend the rest of this film like he's a sexist because Admiral Holdo, not what I expected. As in, she's a woman. So
I mean, I read that as like more
I know
to do
the
with
purple.
costuming.
I know
like,
bit, yeah.
But like I see,
but
like,
it can be read as a sexist thing.
And like
and there's a lot in this film to sort of suggest like of the feminism stuff.
But like I do think he underestimates her partly because he's a woman, and that is partly what the movie is saying is that he needs to check himself, and then he checks himself.
Which is weird because he worships the ground Leia walks on.
Exactly, because Leia looks
really
like he expects female command to look, which is like sturdy, and like Holdo is more feminine.
I don't think she's all that different to Holdo, apart from she doesn't have purple hair. Like, they both have funky hair.
I mean, it's Star Wars. There's a lot of funky hair. Okay, so we are definitely taking this as a pause moment because time is butting up against us. We may very well have a whole additional episode we haven't recorded yet on this because we both have a lot to say. But hopefully you've had a good time listening to us so far. I think because we're breaking this into parts, we'll wait until we finish to do a top 3 something. Because this is not
top 3 bad Star Wars films, perhaps.
Oh, that could get controversial. That could get controversial.
I don't think it will be.
We'll see.
Oh, maybe actually you've got a few.
I mean, it depends whether or not this movie makes your list, because it doesn't make my list of top 3 bad ones. It might make my list of top 3 favourites. But, like, we've had very different experiences of this. Anyway, we'll see you next time for hopefully the final part of this. And then after this, there may or may not be another episode because we want to talk about Return of the Jedi.
Or we'll have killed each other.
No, I love you too much.
I don't.
Oh, well...
I love Star Wars more than you.
And
this ain't Star Wars, man.
The fact that you love Star Wars more than me is not that surprising. But for now, thank you for listening. We hope you found it interesting. I think we've certainly found it to be one of the most
People haven't got to
interesting.
this bit.
Oh, guys. Oh, well. Well, if you managed to stick it out this far, thank you. We will hopefully see you for the next episode as well. Take care.